What House Bill 511 does is it pops into that section of law 10-211 for individual exemptions. And it says, for those that are permanently and physically disabled but work, they're entitled to a $1,000 exemption. Under current Maryland law, there's a $1,000 exemption for those that are physically disabled by blindness. But that's the only physical disability for which someone can avail themselves of the tax exemption. So the bill seeks to expand that to those that are physically disabled and continue to work. And as you know from the prior years that I've come, only about 39% of Maryland adults that are physically disabled actually maintain active full-time employment. And those that are physically disabled and are employed make 30% less than those of us that are not disabled overall in the employment market. And so allowing them this $1,000 deduction helps them with the added costs that they have. They make major adjustments to their living spaces. They have to make adjustments to their vehicles. They have to make adjustments to the types of food they eat, which are often more expensive because they use more prepared food often due to the physical disability. They have increased co-pays and costs for things that assist them that aren't covered by insurance. In the current tax code, we allow those that are permanently and physically disabled who do not work, to avail themselves of pension exemptions. So what this does is say in our tax code, for those that are disabled and do work, we are going to provide you with the $1,000 exemption to help offset the additional costs you have, and we recognize the tax burden that you have. I apologize. I do have an amendment. I offered it last year and missed it when I sent the bill over for filing. What the amendment does is it requires the same attestation that the comptroller looks at when it makes the decision for the permanently physical disabled to file for their pension exemption. And what it then would require for those that are submitting for this exemption, that they submit a letter from a qualified physician certifying the nature of their disability, that the disability is expected to continue indefinitely, and that the individual is capable of substantial gainful activity. So it's consistent with what our tax law already provides for the disabled in terms of the attestations that they need to make to be available for the exemption. With respect to the fiscal note, yes, obviously it does have a fiscal note. It's about 3.4 million, and I believe all of that money is likely to come right back into the economy in the state of Maryland, with the disabled spending it here in the state of Maryland. With respect to opposition, it's difficult this year because I used to send my staff down to tell me who signed up to oppose me. And obviously we can't do that yet, but I'm going to suspect that it's MACO who had the same opposition that they had last year. And I'm not going to take it personally because as I read it, it looks like standard opposition that they send to most of you all the time, saying that they just don't support tax exemptions in the state tax code. So with that, in all of the balancing that you're going to do this year and all the decisions that you're going to make, whether it be tax credit or tax exemptions, I continue to implore you to consider the permanently disabled that work and offer them the same $1,000 that are offered to those that are blind. And I know the chair likes history, or she at least likes the perspective of where things came from. And the original part of the code started back in 1989 when the state tried to adjust our exemptions because the federal tax code had made a bunch of changes that impacted Marylanders. So it started to offer Marylanders some exemptions to offload the additional federal tax burden. And as you know, and you grapple with, the federal law did change a couple years ago, and we hear from a lot of constituents. And over the years, we've tried to tinker with some of the exemptions to, adjust for that tax burden, given what the federal government did. And so I think maybe this can be up there for your discussions again this year on how we can help these individuals with their tax burden. Thank you.